Kang Minho's hands shook as he typed the emergency message. The communication room around him buzzed with red warning lights. Outside the tall windows, he could see the enemy ships in the sky. They looked like dark metal birds, but much bigger and more scary. "Send it to everyone," Captain Yom Tehwa said behind him. Her voice was calm, but Minho could hear the worry in it. "Every world, every fleet, every ally we have." Minho pressed the send button. The message went out to all the stars. It was simple and desperate. "Help us. The Nexari are attacking Valix Prime. We cannot fight them alone." Valix Prime was a beautiful world. The cities were made of crystal that caught the sunlight and threw rainbows everywhere. The people were peaceful. They had never needed to fight anyone before. They made art, studied science, and helped other worlds solve problems with words, not weapons. But now the Nexari Empire was here. Their ships filled the sky like storm clouds. The Nexari were different from the Valix. They loved war. They took worlds by force and made the people there slaves. They had done this to many worlds before. Thex Morvac, the Nexari commander, had sent a message 3 hours ago. His voice was cold and hard. "You have 72 hours to give up. If you do not, we will destroy your cities from space. Your people will die." Captain Yom Tewa walked to the big screen on the wall. It showed the space around their world. Red dots marked the Nexari ships. There were so many of them. "Too many. Any answers yet?" she asked. Minho looked at his computer. Messages were coming in, but they were not good news. The Corvan Republic said they were sorry, but they were too far away. The Celtan Union said the Nexari were too strong. The Galactic Council said they would try to talk to the Nexari, but that would take months. "No one will help us," Minho said. His voice was small and sad. In the science lab, Bae Suman was looking at old records. She was trying to find any world that might help them. The computer showed her hundreds of species, but they all said the same thing. The Nexari were too dangerous to fight. Yom Tewa sat down in her chair. She felt very tired. Her people had never hurt anyone. They had helped build hospitals on sick worlds. They had shared their knowledge with everyone. But now, when they needed help, everyone was afraid. "Captain," Minho said suddenly. His voice was excited. "We have an answer. But it's strange. Who is it?" Yom Tewa asked. "Humans. From Earth." Yom Tewa looked confused. "Humans, are you sure?" Minho played the message. A deep voice spoke in clear galactic standard language. "This is Admiral Park Jinwoo of the Human Defense Fleet. We got your call for help. Our battle group will be there in 18 hours. Everyone in the room was quiet. Then Bae Suman started laughing. But it was not a happy laugh. "Humans, the Deathworlders? They can barely fly in space." She pulled up the human files on her computer. The information was not good. Humans had only been traveling in space for less than 200 years. Most galactic species had been in space for thousands of years. Human technology looked old and simple. Their ships were ugly compared to the beautiful vessels other species used. But the worst part was their home world. Earth was marked as a Class 12 death world. That was almost the highest danger level possible. The computer said Earth had terrible storms that could destroy cities. The ground shook and cracked open. The sun sent dangerous rays that could kill. Wild animals hunted and ate each other. Even the air had poison in some places. "How do they even live there?" Minho asked, reading the file. "The computer says they are very good at staying alive," Bae Suman said. "But that does not mean they can fight in space." Yom Tehwa looked at the files too. Humans were strange. They were not very strong or fast compared to other species. They could not see in the dark or breathe different kinds of air. But they had spread to many worlds very quickly. The computer said they were surprisingly adaptable and unusually persistent. "What does that mean?" Yom Tewa asked. "It means they don't give up," Bae Suman said. "Even when they should." Another message came in. This time it was from the human fleet. "We know you might have questions about us. We are not the biggest fleet in the galaxy. We are not the most advanced. But we promise you this. We will fight for your people like they are our own people." Yom Tewa felt something warm in her chest. It was hope. All the big, powerful species had said no. But these humans who lived on a world that tried to kill them every day said yes. "Send them our location data," she told Minho. "Tell them we accept their help." "Are you sure?" Bae Suman asked. "They might make things worse." Yom Tewa looked out the window again. The Nexari ships were getting closer to the planet. Soon they would start dropping soldiers and tanks. Her people had no weapons to fight them with. "Things cannot get much worse," she said. "At least the humans are coming." That is more than anyone else will do. Minho sent the message. Then they waited. The Nexari ships moved in the sky like sharks in dark water. The countdown showed 67 hours left. In the city below, people were scared. They had heard about the Nexari. Everyone knew what happened to worlds that fought them and lost. Families packed their most important things. Some people tried to hide in the deep caves under the crystal cities. But Captain Yom Tewa stayed in the communication room. She watched the stars and waited for the humans to come. She did not know if they could help. But they were the only ones who had tried. Bei Suman came to stand next to her. "What if they cannot win?" she asked. "Then we will die fighting beside people who cared enough to try," Yom Tewa said. "That is better than dying alone." 18 hours felt like 18 years. But finally, Minho's computer started beeping. "Ships coming out of hyperspace," he said. "It's them. The humans are here." Yom Tewa smiled for the first time in 3 days. Help was coming from the most unexpected place in the galaxy. From a world so dangerous that most species would die just visiting it. From people who had said yes when everyone else said no. The Deathworlders had answered their call. Commander Lee Dongyan gripped his chair as his ship dropped out of hyperspace. The stars stopped being long white lines and became dots again. Right away, he could see Valix Prime. It was a blue and green world with white clouds. Very pretty and peaceful looking. But the space around it was full of enemy ships. "Count them," Admiral Park Jinwoo said from the main ship. His voice came through the radio to all the human vessels. "I see 47 Nexari ships, sir," Lee Donghyun reported. "We have 15 ships in our group." "Good odds," the Admiral said. Some of the younger crew members looked worried, but the older ones smiled. Admiral Jinwoo was famous for winning fights when the numbers looked bad. On Valix Prime, Captain Yom Tewa watched the human ships appear on her screen. Her mouth fell open. These ships were nothing like what she expected. Most galactic ships were smooth and shiny. They looked fast and clean with curved lines and bright colors. The human ships looked like they had been in many fights. Their hulls were gray and dark, covered with patches where damage had been fixed. Strange weapons stuck out from every side. The ships were thick and heavy-looking, like metal boxes with engines. "They look terrible," Bei Suman said, staring at the screen. "Are we sure these things can even fly?" But Minho was reading the energy signals from the human fleet. "Their engines are very powerful," he said. "Much more powerful than ships that size should have." The Nexari had seen the humans too. Thex Morvac was on his command ship, looking at the ugly human vessels. "What are those things?" he asked his officers. "Human ships, Commander," one of them said. "From Earth," Thex Morvac laughed. "The Deathworlders. They dare to come here?" He looked at his fleet of beautiful, deadly ships. "Destroy them quickly. Then we can get back to taking this world." The Nexari ships turned toward the humans. They moved fast and smooth like dancers in space. Their weapons started charging up, creating bright lights along their hulls. But the human ships did something strange. Instead of spreading out or running away, they moved closer together. They formed a tight group and flew straight toward the Nexari fleet. "Are they crazy?" Bei Suman asked. "They're flying right at them." On his ship, Commander Lee Donghyun was calm. He had fought in space battles before. "All ships maintain formation. Remember, we're not trying to look pretty. We're trying to win." Lieutenant Commander Kim Hyeri was on another human ship. She was watching the Nexari move into their attack positions. "They fight like they're dancing," she told her crew. "All smooth moves and fancy flying." "That's their mistake," her gunner said. "We don't dance. We fight." The Nexari opened fire first. Bright blue energy beams shot across space toward the human ships. The beams were hot enough to cut through most ship armor like it was paper. The human ships did not try to dodge. The energy beams hit them and made bright explosions on their hulls. Any normal ship would have been destroyed or badly damaged, but the human ships kept coming. "Impossible," Thex Morvac said. "Those hits should have stopped them." His weapons officer was confused too. "The energy readings showed direct hits, Commander, but their ships are still working." What the Nexari did not understand was that human ships were built different. On Earth, everything tried to kill humans. So they learned to build things that could take a lot of damage and keep working. Their ships had thick armor, backup systems, and extra power sources. They were ugly because they were made to survive, not to look good. "Now it's our turn," Admiral Jinwoo said. The human ships fired back, but their weapons were not like Nexari energy beams. They shot big metal bullets that moved very fast. They launched missiles with nuclear warheads. Some ships had railguns that could shoot pieces of metal so fast they hit like lightning bolts. The Nexari had never seen weapons like these. Their shields were designed to stop energy beams, not solid objects moving at incredible speed. The human bullets punched through their shields and hit their ships hard. One Nexari ship exploded in a ball of fire. Another one started spinning out of control as human missiles hit its engines. "What kind of weapons are those?" Thex Morvac shouted. "Primitive kinetic weapons," his science officer said. "Very old technology. But they're using them in ways we've never seen." The human ships kept getting closer. They flew through the Nexari formation like angry animals. When a human ship got damaged, it did not retreat. Instead, it would ram into the nearest enemy ship. Captain Yom Tewa watched in shock as one human ship, with its front half blown off, crashed into a Nexari cruiser. Both ships exploded, but the human had taken out an enemy ship twice its size. "They're willing to die to win," she said quietly. Commander Lee Donghyun's ship was taking heavy fire. His hull was cracked and burning in several places. Half his weapons were broken, but he kept fighting. "Sir, we should retreat and repair," his engineer said. "No," Lee Donghyun said. "Look at that Nexari ship there. Its shields are down. Ram it." "Sir?" "You heard me. Full speed ahead." Chief Engineer Choi Jung-soo was on the flagship trying to keep the ship's systems working while they were under attack. Sparks flew from broken cables. The lights kept going on and off. But he and his crew worked like their lives depended on it. Because they did. "Engines at 110%, he reported to the Admiral. "That's over the safe limit," someone said. "Safe is for people who want to lose," Choi Jung-soo replied. The battle was not going the way Thex Morvac had planned. His ships were faster and had better technology. But the humans fought like nothing he had ever seen. They did not follow the normal rules of space combat. When their ships were damaged, they used the broken pieces as weapons. When they ran out of missiles, they shot their own escape pods at enemy ships. When their weapons stopped working, they rammed their ships into the enemy. "They fight like animals," one of his officers said. "No," Thex Morvac said, watching another human ship sacrifice itself to destroy two of his vessels. "Animals fight to survive. These humans fight to win, even if they die doing it." Lieutenant Commander Kim Hyeri's ship was surrounded by 3 Nexari vessels. Normal tactics said she should try to escape, but she did not try to run. "All power to forward weapons," she ordered. "Pick the biggest one and hit it with everything we have." Her ship charged straight at the largest Nexari vessel. The enemy ship's weapons hit her over and over, but she did not stop. At the last second, she fired all her weapons at once. The explosion was so big it destroyed both ships, but it also took out one of the other Nexari ships that was too close. On Valix Prime, Bae Suman was studying the battle. "I understand now," she said. "They're not trying to survive the battle. They're trying to win it no matter what it costs." Minho was recording everything. "They fight like their whole world trained them for war." "Maybe it did," Yom Tehua said. "Maybe living on a death world taught them that sometimes you have to risk everything to protect what matters." The battle continued, but the tide was turning. The Nexari ships were built for quick, clean victories. They were not ready for the brutal, grinding fight the humans brought to them. Admiral Park Jinwoo looked at the tactical display. They had lost 6 ships, but they had destroyed or damaged 23 Nexari vessels. The enemy was starting to retreat to a safer distance. "All ships maintain pressure," he ordered. "Don't let them regroup." Thex Morvac realized he had made a terrible mistake. He had expected to fight civilized beings who would retreat when things got dangerous. Instead, he was fighting Deathworlders who seemed to think death was just another weapon to use against their enemies. For the first time in his military career, he felt afraid. Sergeant Oh Minjun checked his weapon one more time. Around him, other human Marines were getting ready to board enemy ships. Their armor was thick and heavy, not smooth like the gear other species used. It looked rough and practical, built to keep them alive in the worst places. "Remember," he told his team, "Nexari are fast, but they're not used to close fighting. Stay together and watch each other's backs." As they prepared, Minjun thought about home. Earth was far away, but it had taught him everything he needed to know about surviving. Dr. Lim Soo-young was in the medical bay, talking to a Valix doctor through the communication system. The alien doctor was asking how humans could fight so hard and take so much damage. "You have to understand," Dr. Lim said. We come from a world that never stops trying to kill us. She brought up images of Earth on her screen. The Valix doctor gasped when he saw them. This is a hurricane, Dr. Lim explained, showing a massive storm. Winds moving faster than your fastest ground vehicles. They can destroy entire cities. We get dozens of these every year. The next image showed an earthquake. Buildings fell down like toys. The ground cracked open in long, deep cuts. The land itself moves and shakes, Dr. Lim continued. Without warning, the ground under your feet can disappear. We've learned to build everything stronger because of this. She showed more pictures. Volcanoes that shot fire and rocks into the sky. Floods that covered whole countries. Deserts so hot they could cook you. And places so cold that your breath turned to ice in seconds. And the animals? The Valix doctor asked. Dr. Lim smiled. But it was not a happy smile. Our world has creatures that hunt humans for food. Big cats with teeth like knives. Bears that can break trees with their paws. Snakes with poison that can kill you in minutes. Even some of our plants can kill you if you touch them. The Valix doctor was quiet for a long time. His world had gentle animals and plants that helped each other grow. How do you survive? We learned to be tougher than everything that wants to kill us, Dr. Lim said. Every human child learns that the world is dangerous. We don't hope it will be safe. We make sure we can survive when it's not. Meanwhile, in the engine room of the human flagship, Chief Engineer Choi Jung-soo was fixing damage while the battle continued. Sparks flew around him as he worked on broken systems. The main power coupling is cracked, one of his crew reported. Normal repair time is 6 hours. We don't have 6 hours, Choi Jung-soo said. Get me some metal plating and welding tools. We'll fix it the hard way. He crawled into a space barely big enough for his body. Hot metal and dangerous electricity surrounded him. But he did not stop working. On most worlds, this would be considered too dangerous. On Earth, it was just another day. Why are you risking your life for a temporary fix? The crew member asked. Because temporary is better than dead, Choi Jung-soo replied. On Earth, we learned that any solution that keeps you alive is a good solution. Back on Valix Prime, Bae Suman was studying the human battle tactics. What she saw did not make sense at first. They don't fight like any military force I've studied, she told Captain Yom Taewa. Look at this. She showed a recording of human Marines boarding a Nexari ship. Instead of moving in neat formations like trained soldiers, they moved like hunters. They used the walls and ceiling for cover. They attacked from directions the Nexari did not expect. It's like they're hunting dangerous animals, Yom Taewa said. Maybe they are, Bae Suman replied. To them, everything that wants to hurt them is just another predator to deal with. She pulled up more files about Earth. Look at this. Humans have been hunting creatures much bigger and stronger than themselves for thousands of years. They learned to work together to bring down enemies that could kill them easily in a fair fight. On the screen, she showed pictures of early humans working together to hunt massive beasts. They used tools, traps, and teamwork to defeat animals much more powerful than they were. They never had the luxury of fighting fair, Bae Suman continued, so they learned to fight smart. In space, the battle was changing. The Nexari were used to fighting enemies who followed the same rules they did. Ships would fight at long distance with energy weapons. Boarding actions were rare and usually very organized, but humans did not follow these rules. Admiral Park Jin-woo watched as his Marines took control of a Nexari cruiser. They had entered through a damaged section of the hull, something most species would never try. The area was filled with dangerous radiation and twisted metal. Normal troops would die just getting inside, his tactical officer said. Our troops are not normal, the admiral replied. They grew up on a world where radiation, metal storms, and toxic air are just part of life. The human Marines moved through the Nexari ship like they owned it. They knew how to fight in tight spaces because Earth cities were built that way. They knew how to deal with broken systems and dangerous environments because that was normal on their home world. Sergeant Oh Minjun kicked down a door and led his team into a Nexari control room. The alien soldiers inside were surprised. They had expected the humans to come through the main hallway, following standard boarding procedures. Instead, the humans had climbed through air vents cut through walls, and even used the outside of the ship to reach their target. They attacked from 6 different directions at once. Surrender and you will not be harmed, Minjun said in the Nexari language. His voice was calm and steady. The Nexari soldiers looked at each other. These humans were covered in dirt and small injuries from their trip through the damaged ship. But they did not seem bothered by it. They looked like they were used to pain and danger. The Nexari captain decided to surrender. Back on the flagship, Dr. Lim Soo-young was treating wounded humans. What amazed her was how quickly they recovered and wanted to return to battle. "Sir, I can still fight," one Marine said. He had burns on his arm and a cut on his face. "You need rest," Dr. Lim told him. "With respect, Doctor, I've had worse injuries falling down on Earth," the Marine replied. "This is nothing." That was the difference, Dr. Lim realized. What other species considered serious injuries, humans thought of as minor problems. They had grown up dealing with pain and danger every day. She thought about her own childhood on Earth. When she was 6 years old, she had fallen into a river during a flood. The water was cold and full of debris. Most alien children would have died, but her parents had taught her to swim in rough water, just in case something like this happened. "We don't hope for the best," she said to herself. "We prepare for the worst." Commander Lee Dong-hyun was coordinating the attack on the largest Nexari ship. His own vessel was badly damaged, but it was still fighting. "Sir, they're asking why we don't retreat and repair our ships," his communication officer said. Lee Dong-hyun thought about that. On most worlds, you would retreat when you were hurt. You would find a safe place to heal and come back later. But Earth had taught humans something different. Sometimes there was no safe place. Sometimes you had to keep fighting even when you were hurt, because stopping meant dying. "Tell them," he said, "that we learned long ago that the world doesn't care if you're ready or not. Danger comes when it comes. So we fight when we need to fight, no matter what condition we're in." Thex Morvac was getting desperate. Half his fleet was destroyed or captured. The humans kept fighting even when their ships were falling apart. His beautiful advanced vessels were losing to these ugly primitive ships. "How are they doing this?" he asked his science officer. "I think I understand, Commander," the officer said. "They're not fighting a space battle the way we do. They're treating this like they're still on their death world, fighting for survival." "What do you mean?" "On their world, everything wants to kill them. So they learned that any fight might be their last fight. They don't save anything for later. They use everything they have right now to win." Thex Morvac looked at the tactical display. The humans were down to 9 ships, but those 9 ships were still attacking. They had lost friends and crew members, but they did not slow down. "They fight like the universe is ending," he said quietly. "For them," the science officer replied, "it always might be." Colonel An Sung-ho moved through the corridors of the Nexari flagship like a predator hunting prey. Behind him, 12 human Marines followed in perfect formation. Their armor was dented and scorched from the fighting, but they kept moving forward. The Nexari ship was huge and beautiful inside. The walls were smooth metal that reflected light in pretty patterns. Everything was clean and organized. It was very different from human ships, which were built for function, not beauty. "Contact ahead," whispered one of his Marines. 6 Nexari soldiers, elite armor. Sung-ho held up his hand for his team to stop. He looked around the corner carefully. The Nexari elite guards were tall and strong, with shiny armor that could stop most weapons. They were blocking the path to the command bridge. "They're waiting for us to come at them directly," Sung-ho said quietly. "That's not how we do things." He pointed to an air vent in the ceiling. "Park, take 3 men and go up. Kim, take 2 and find another way around. I'll wait here and make noise to keep their attention." This was not how most galactic military forces fought. They would form neat lines and attack head-on, following proper battle rules. But humans had learned to hunt on Earth, where following rules got you killed by smarter predators. While his men got into position, Sung-ho thought about the first time he had hunted a wolf on Earth. He was 16 years old. The wolf was faster, stronger, and had better senses, but humans were smarter. They could plan. They could work together. They could attack from directions the wolf never expected. "In position," came the whisper through his radio. "Go," Sung-ho said. He stepped into the hallway and started shooting. The Nexari soldiers turned toward him, raising their weapons, but they did not see Park dropping from the ceiling behind them, or Kim coming through a side passage. The fight was over in seconds. On the bridge of the human flagship, Admiral Park Jin-woo was talking to Thex Morvac on the communication screen. The Nexari commander looked tired and angry. His beautiful ship was being taken apart by creatures he had thought were barely civilized. "You fight without honor," Thex Morvac said, "like wild animals." Admiral Jin-woo's face was calm, but his eyes were cold. "Honor is something you can afford when you don't have to worry about dying every day. We learn to fight from a world that shows no mercy. Neither do we." Your people are savages, Thex Morvac spit. No, the Admiral said. Our people are survivors. There's a difference. On Valix Prime, Medical Officer Han Jiwan was working in a field hospital. Human and Valix wounded were being brought in from the battle. She worked on both species without stopping. A young Valix nurse watched her save a human marine who had been badly burned. How can you work so fast? The nurse asked. Emergency medicine, Han Jiwan said, not looking up from her patient. On Earth, disasters happen all the time. Earthquakes, storms, fires. We learn to save lives quickly because we don't know when the next disaster will hit. The Valix nurse had never seen medicine practiced this way. On her world, doctors worked slowly and carefully in clean, safe hospitals. But Han Jiwan worked like she was fighting death itself, using whatever tools she could find. Why do you help our wounded too? The nurse asked. Han Jiwan looked up for a moment. Because they're hurt. On Earth, we learned that when things go bad, the only thing that matters is helping each other survive. In space, the battle was reaching its end. Most of the Nexari fleet was destroyed or surrendered. The few ships that were still fighting were trying to retreat, but the humans chased them. Communications specialist Na Youngmin was receiving surrender messages from Nexari ships all across the battle area. 15 more ships surrendering, Admiral, he reported. Accept their surrender, Admiral Jinwoo said. But make sure they understand the terms. He opened a channel to broadcast to all the remaining Nexari ships. This is Admiral Park Jinwoo of the Human Defense Fleet. Valix Prime is now under our protection. Any future attacks on this world will be met with the full force of Earth's fleets. Thex Morvac listened to this message from his damaged command ship. You cannot protect every world in the galaxy, he said. Maybe not, the Admiral replied. But we can protect the ones that ask for our help. And we can make sure that anyone who hurts them regrets it. Colonel An Seung-ho and his team had reached the command bridge of the Nexari flagship. The doors were thick and heavily defended. But humans had learned to deal with obstacles that seemed impossible. Charges set, reported one of his Marines. Everyone take cover, Seung-ho said. The explosion blew the doors off their hinges. Smoke filled the hallway. Through the smoke, the human Marines rushed onto the bridge. Thex Morvac was there, surrounded by his remaining officers. They had their weapons ready, but when they saw the humans coming through the smoke like ghosts, many of them dropped their guns. I surrender, Thex Morvac said. His voice was quiet and defeated. Seung-ho kept his weapon trained on the Nexari commander. Smart choice. How? Thex Morvac asked. How did primitives like you defeat my fleet? Seung-ho thought about this question. Because we're not really primitives. We're specialists. Our whole species is trained to survive in the most dangerous place in the galaxy. Fighting you is just another survival problem to solve. Back on Valix Prime, Captain Yam Tehua was watching the final moments of the battle from her command center. The last Nexari ships were either surrendering or running away. The humans had won, but she could see the cost. Human ships were floating in space, broken and dead. Good people had died to save her world. How many? She asked Minho. The humans lost 8 ships, he said quietly. Over 3,000 people. Yam Tehua felt sad and grateful at the same time. These strangers from a death world had given their lives for people they had never met. Send a message to Admiral Jinwoo, she said. Tell him we want to honor their dead. Dr. Lim Soo-young was on the human flagship, looking out at the space around Valix Prime. The battle was over. The beautiful crystal cities on the planet below were safe, but so many of her friends would never see home again. A young Valix student contacted her through the communication system. Dr. Lim, is it true that Earth is as terrible as the records say? Dr. Lim thought about her answer carefully. Terrible? No, Earth is not terrible. Earth made us strong. It taught us that life is precious because it can be taken away so quickly. It taught us to help each other because sometimes that's the only way to survive. She looked at the peaceful world below. And now that strength protects more than just our own world. Admiral Jinwoo received a final message from the retreating Nexari fleet. It was not from Thex Morvac, but from the Nexari High Command. We did not know humans were capable of this level of warfare, the message said. We will not attack Valix Prime again. The Admiral smiled grimly. Good. Make sure you tell the rest of the galaxy what happened here. Tell them that humans keep their promises. As the human fleet took defensive positions around Valix Prime, word of the battle spread across the galaxy. The species that had refused to help the Valix were shocked. The Deathworlders had done what no one thought possible. They had beaten the Nexari Empire. But more importantly, They had done it to protect people they barely knew. This was something new in galactic politics. Most species helped their allies because of trade agreements or military pacts. The humans had helped simply because someone asked them to. On the surface of Valix Prime, people came out of their hiding places. They looked up at the sky and saw human ships standing guard. They were safe because creatures from the most dangerous world in the galaxy had decided their lives were worth protecting. The age of the Deathworlders had begun. 1 week after the battle, Ambassador Shin Minji arrived from Earth. Her ship was different from the warships that had fought the Nexari. It was smaller and looked more peaceful, but it still had the thick, practical design that all human vessels shared. She landed in the main city of Valix Prime, where thousands of people had gathered to see her. The Valix had never seen a human in person before. They were surprised by how ordinary she looked. Humans were not very big or impressive compared to other galactic species, but everyone knew what these ordinary-looking beings had done to save their world. Captain Yom Tewa met Ambassador Shin at the landing platform. "Welcome to Valix Prime," she said. "We owe you and your people everything." "We did what anyone should do," Shin Minji replied. "We helped people who needed help." But Yom Tewa shook her head. "No, Ambassador. Many people could have helped us. Only humans did." They walked through the Crystal City together. The buildings threw rainbows in the sunlight just like before the war. Children played in the parks. People worked in their gardens. Life was normal again because the humans had made it safe. "Your world is very beautiful," Shin Minji said. "I can see why you love it." "It is peaceful," Yom Tewa agreed. "But we have learned that peace must sometimes be protected by those willing to fight for it." In the Science Center, Bei Suman was still studying the human ships that remained in orbit. What she had learned changed everything she thought she knew about technology and warfare. "Look at this," she showed her research team. "Human ship armor is not just thick. It has layers. When the outer layer breaks, there are more layers underneath. When those break, there are more layers." She pulled up detailed scans of a human vessel. "They do not build things to work perfectly. They build things to keep working even when they are damaged." One of her assistants asked, "But why?" "It makes their ships heavier and slower. Because on their world, everything breaks eventually," Bei Suman explained. "They learned that backup systems and redundancy are more important than perfection." She showed them more examples. Human engines that could run on several different types of fuel, weapons that could be repaired with simple tools, life support systems that had 3 different ways to keep people alive. "We have been building our technology wrong," she said quietly. "We made it beautiful and efficient, but they made it tough and reliable." Cultural Exchange Officer John Woojin was working with Valix teachers to set up communication classes. The 2 species were very different, and learning to understand each other would take time. "Why did your people answer our call?" asked one Valix teacher. "You had never met us before." John Woojin thought about how to explain this. "On Earth we have a saying, we are all in this together. Our world taught us that when someone is in trouble, you help them if you can. Because someday you might be the one who needs help." The teacher looked confused. "But helping us gave you nothing in return. You lost ships and people." "It gave us something very important," John Woojin said. "It let us sleep at night knowing we did the right thing." In the government building, Ambassador Shin Minji was meeting with the Valix leadership. They wanted to offer humans technology, resources, and trade agreements. But the ambassador asked for something different. "We would like to establish a defense pact," she said. "Earth will help protect Valix Prime. In return, we would like to learn about your culture and science." "That seems like a very unequal trade," said one of the Valix leaders. "Our knowledge is worth much less than military protection." Shin Minji smiled. "You would be surprised. Humans are always eager to learn new things, and your people have a gift for peace that we admire." Admiral Park Jinwoo was still in orbit with his fleet. Even though the battle was over, he kept his ships ready. He had sent messages to other human fleets, telling them about Valix Prime and asking them to include this world in their patrol routes. "Sir," reported his communications officer, "we're getting messages from other worlds. They want to know if Earth would help protect them too." The Admiral was not surprised. Word of the victory over the Nexari had spread quickly. Species that had felt helpless against stronger enemies now saw hope. "How many requests?" he asked. 17 so far, sir. More coming in every hour." Admiral Jinwoo looked at the tactical display. Earth did not have enough ships to protect every world that asked for help, but they could protect some, and maybe that would be enough to change things. Down on the planet, Kang Minho was working with communications specialist Na Youngman to set up a permanent communication link between Earth and Valix Prime. As they worked, they talked about the future. "Do you think more species will start fighting like humans?" Minho asked. Na Youngman shook his head. "No, they can't. They did not grow up on Deathworlds. They do not have our experience with constant danger. Then how will they protect themselves?" "The same way smaller animals on Earth protect themselves," Na Youngman said. "They work together with the predators. We protect them and they help us in other ways." In the medical center, Dr. Han Jiwon was training Valix doctors in emergency medicine. She showed them how to work quickly and use simple tools to save lives. "But what if we do not have the right equipment?" asked one doctor. "Then you use what you have," Han Jiwon replied. "On Earth, we have a saying, 'Any tool is the right tool if you use it right.'" She demonstrated by using a kitchen knife as a scalpel and a piece of cloth as bandages. Perfect conditions are rare on Earth. We learned to work with imperfect conditions. The Valix doctors were amazed. Their medical training had always assumed they would have proper hospitals and equipment. But Han Jiwon could save lives with almost nothing. Dr. Lim Soo-young was in the orbital station, talking to Valix scientists about Earth's ecosystem. They were fascinated by how such a dangerous world had produced such successful people. "Every creature on Earth is both predator and prey," she explained. "Even the biggest, strongest animals can be killed by smaller, smarter ones. This taught humans to be careful but also bold." She showed them videos of Earth animals, lions that worked together to hunt giant elephants, tiny ants that could kill creatures thousands of times their size, fish that traveled in schools to confuse larger predators. "We learned all these strategies," Dr. Lim said. "Pack hunting, cooperation, using the environment as a weapon, sacrificing individuals to save the group." "Is that why your soldiers were willing to die in the battle?" asked a Valix scientist. "Partly," Dr. Lim nodded, "but also because humans have strong feelings about protecting others. On Earth, the groups that took care of each other survived. The ones that only thought about themselves died out. As the weeks passed, more human ships arrived at Valix Prime. Some brought supplies and equipment. Others brought families of the humans who had decided to stay and help rebuild the planet's defenses. Engineer Choi Jung-soo was working with Valix technicians to upgrade their planetary shields. The original shields were beautiful and efficient but not very strong. "We are going to make them ugly," he told the Valix workers. "But they will stop any weapon the Nexari have." The new shields looked rough and mechanical compared to the elegant originals. But when they tested them, they could absorb 10 times more damage. "Ugly but effective," said one of the Valix engineers. "I think I am beginning to understand human design philosophy." The signing ceremony for the Valix Earth Defense Pact took place in the capital city's main plaza. Thousands of people from both species attended. News of the ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy. Ambassador Shin Minji stood next to Captain Yom Taewa as they signed the agreement. "This is more than a military alliance," Shin Minji said to the crowd. "This is the beginning of a new kind of cooperation between species." She looked up at the human ships in orbit. "Humans know what it means to face extinction alone. We will not let our friends face it alone either." After the ceremony, a young Valix student approached Dr. Lim Soo-young. "Dr. Lim, I have been reading about Earth. It sounds like a terrible place to live." Dr. Lim smiled and knelt down to talk to the child at eye level. "Do you know what I see when I look at your world?" The student shook his head. "I see beauty and peace that takes my breath away. I see people who are kind and gentle and smart. I see everything that humans want to protect." She stood up and looked at the crystal spires reaching toward the sky. "Earth made us strong so we could keep places like this safe. But don't you wish you had grown up here instead?" the student asked. Dr. Lim thought for a moment. "Sometimes. But if we had grown up here, we would not be the people we are today. We would not have been able to save your world when you needed us." She pointed to the human ships in orbit. "Every species in the galaxy has something special to offer. Your people offer wisdom and beauty and peace. Our people offer strength and protection and the willingness to fight when fighting is needed. Together," she said, "we are stronger than we could ever be alone." As the sun set on Valix Prime, casting long shadows through the crystal city, Captain Yom Taewa stood on her balcony looking up at the stars. The human ships were still there, standing guard, For the first time in weeks, she felt completely safe. Bae Suman joined her on the balcony. "The galaxy is going to be very different now," she said. "How so?" Yomtewa asked.